Good afternoon. So we're going to talk about something that can really change our lives. And this is an electric vehicle that the experience of the vehicle will be exactly like fueling. So you can go into a charging station the same way that you're going into a gas station, only without the fumes. This is our vision, this is where we are going, and I'm going to talk about how we have done this and how we want to take it to the next level. So first of all, a revolution. You know, I was born in 1963, 56 years ago, where a terabyte of the flash memory, not that it existed in a very small amounts, but if you would want a terabyte, which today you have like on a small SanDisk chip, this would cost $4 billion US. Today it's 10. Okay, so we cannot even comprehend the ratio 1 to 400 million that we have been all fortunate enough to realize in our lifetime. And I started as a VP at M Systems. We mentioned them on stage earlier. I was doing the technology for the flash memory of the disk on key. And then I was heading the SSD business, so I started the SSD business at SanDisk. The recent acquisition by WD of 19 billion of SanDisk was because of my product, the SSD that is now replacing the hard drives, the rotating drives. So we are fortunate enough to see in our lifetime major revolutions in industries. Now, the Moore's law that we see here is very difficult to replicate in an industry that is more chemical, electrochemical, materials, and this is not just the ability to downsize the feature size of the gate of a transistor. But still, we are witnessing something that hasn't been seen in a long, long time, which is a dramatic improvement in the battery space. And we can see that it's going from today roughly $175 per kilowatt hour. Okay, in a normal Tesla, you would have, let's say, 100 or 80 kilowatt hours. So this is a very expensive part of the vehicle. About a third of the cost of the vehicle, roughly, is a battery. But this cost is dropping. And if you look at most analysts, they would say that around 2030, it will be around $70 per kilowatt hour. And already at 100 or even 120, and we are talking pack size. This is not the cell. This is the entire chassis full with batteries and the cooling and the management system. So the pack itself can, once it goes below $100, is already the flipping point for adoption. But then there is the issue of the easiness or the experience of the driver. We want the experience of the driver to be exactly like fueling. This is where the hockey stick will really kick in. And this is what we are working on. So we need to understand that even only, we only see today 2% of the cars as electric vehicles, but the revolution is here because it's a perfect storm of the connected car and the autonomous and the shared. Everything is using electrification as a driver, and fast charging is in the center of this storm. So StoreDot was built around the vision that fast charging can happen in an instant. You will charge a battery in seconds or in a minute. This is something that our grandchildren will not believe. Trust me, they would not believe that we charged a phone all night. Okay, it just will be something that they will not understand. So when you look at the charging, so today you roughly charge 3 to 5 hours. If you have a Tesla, maybe 40 minutes to 60% or something, but we are talking about a real 5 minutes. This would require a major overhaul on the infrastructure as well, because you need a charging station that is roughly 750 kilowatt power, which is something that we don't see today. Let's say in a Tesla, you get 120 today. Roughly of kilowatt power. But then a very important point that I want to explain is that you cannot do this revolution when we continue to use the traditional lithium-ion batteries. We all remember the Note 7 story with the explosions. There is a major safety issue with graphite, which is the major anode component, the negative side of the battery. The anode reacts with the lithium. It creates something that's called metallization or plating or dendrite. It has many names. At the end of the day, you get a nail that punctures a hole through the separator, and you get a short. This is what we are trying to change. So we are developing a lithium-ion battery that does not use graphite as its main component. Okay, so we are focusing on this cell. Now, this cell needs to be able to be charged slowly to your home charge. This will always be slow, by the way, because of the infrastructure. This will be the AC charging at home will always be slow, but that's okay, because then you do have all night, if you have a home. Most people don't have a home. Let's not forget that. But then the most important thing is the experience at the DC charging, the fast charging at the supercharging stations. So we are focusing on that green piece in the middle. This is the missing piece. This is something that nobody else was able to develop thus far. So how we do it? First of all, we assembled a team of the best chemists in the world in Israel. They are material scientists, quantum physicists, electrochemists that are actually building a new battery. Still a lithium-ion battery. The lithium-ion is the mechanism to transfer the electron from a cathode to an anode. We are still using lithium salt in order to do that. But the active material is no longer graphite. Okay, so we are inventing these materials. So we have a team of scientists that are synthesizing the molecules, the same way that you would develop a drug. They actually came from Teva and from Novartis and from those companies that are developing new molecules that need to perform a certain function. Only now they don't have, let's say, Ebola that they need to find a vaccine for. They have a mechanism to move the ions faster. So the functionality that is required from these scientists is different. But I took the capabilities of the organic synthesis and brought it into the world of the battery. So we have a team that is really a combination of organic chemistry, nanotechnology, basically silicon, tin, germanium, all the materials that are in column 4 that are known to work well in fast diffusion. They have issues. Swelling, they have issues of stability, and this is what we are actually working on with the organic materials that are the matrix, are the coating or the protection of these molecules. So we are working in 6 teams. Each team is headed by a top scientist, people who wrote papers in Nature about their area. So a new anode, a new cathode, a new electrolyte. We also use data science in order to analyze the terabytes of information that we are getting from our cyclers that are actually charging and discharging the batteries every minute. And we have thousands of those batteries that we already produced. We are working on the cell structure with one of our partners, which is TDK, that is a strategic investor. We are working on the electronics on the charging stations. This is with BP, British Petroleum, that invested with us, and with Daimler, that are also a strategic investor. So we raised a lot of money, 130 million, but I also need a factory. In order for this to be real, we need to produce this in large scale. And I'm looking to build this factory in the US with our partners and with an operational partner in the US. We call it the 1 Giga facility. There's also a website, 1-giga.com. It will tell you all the parameters about this factory. Most likely it will be not in California, it will be somewhere in the southeast, Georgia, Alabama, somewhere, maybe Arizona. But this factory is essential for the US to be able to produce its own batteries, new technology for fast charging that will be able to strategically balance what is happening in China, Korea, and Japan in batteries that today it's over 80% of the batteries are produced there. And even the one factory that Elon has here is a Panasonic factory. So there is zero technology, zero capacity that is actually Western in the US and in Europe. So this is why we feel like we have to find partners here that will join the journey with us in order to enable 5-minute charging of the vehicle in the near future. So the future is actually already here. Thank you very much.